So it's happened. It looks like the saga is over. And if I'm being honest, my initial reaction is thank fuck for that. Seriously, I know it's devastating to see Leroy Sane finally leave Manchester City, but he's basically been a Bayern player in all but name for like a year and a bit now, so you can't really blame me and many others for switching off since last summer, basically, when that saga was dragging on and on. It looks like finally this has actually happened. Loads of reports from loads of respectable journalists are flying around, basically all reporting exactly the same thing, which does imply that it's obviously a club-wide press briefing on this thing. And he's gone. It's gone. Personally, honestly, I'm genuinely kind of glad it's over, because the last thing we wanted right now is all this dragging on for another year and Sane leaving on a free transfer. I know we've got a pretty shit feeling. I'll get onto that in a bit. But for now, I'm just glad that we can draw a line under this and start to plan for a future without Leroy Sane. Now, we all knew that was going to happen anyway, largely, apart from one or two people who maybe kind of hung on to some hope on that front. But it's nice to have clarity, an actual focal clarity moving onwards as the club. In terms of the fee itself, loads of reports said up front it's about 49 million euros, which isn't much, with add-ons of a further 11 million euros, which is approximately around 55 million quid. So it's a small profit. It isn't great, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it'd be about 30 something. And apparently, and interestingly, City have a 10% sell-on fee. So if Sane fulfills his potential, and then Barca or Real come in for him and they want him, and they offer like 200 million or whatever, City will get an extra 20 million. It means the transfer isn't too bad. Let's not pretend anything other than that this isn't a great deal for City. It isn't a great deal. If anything, it's a pretty poor one. We were probably never going to get the money we wanted last year because Sane really only had his eyes on Bayern Munich, which is kind of frustrating because you think a player at his peak, especially pre-COVID, with more than a year on his contract, he's probably a 125, 130 million pound player. But it became pretty obvious that was never going to happen, especially due to the injury, especially given the fact that he's got a year left in his contract, and it's just dragged on and on and on. But it looks like we've finally kind of removed him from our books. I know it's tempting to get down on the fee, but it is worth remembering it isn't really our money. So it's not worth us kind of getting stressed over, really. I'm not going to kind of get upset about it. I did want more for that, but largely it's a bunch of millionaires that have got slightly less money now than they did previously. Like, billionaires even. So I can't pretend to complain too much. Once again, it's just the fact that we've got resolution that appeals to me. Ideally, I would love City to kind of line up and replace him, but maybe, just maybe now, what this can do is afford us a chance to reassess and see how we want to go. What we're going to lose with Sane, and obviously I'll do a video properly when it's finally announced, but I'm pretty certain it's announced. We're going to lose that magic that Leroy Sane can bring. Now, if we look back at his career, he was absolutely fantastic for Manchester City at times. It is worth noting, though, in the season before last when he was playing, or last season, I guess, actually, just last season in general, he didn't really play a full 90 minutes for absolutely ages towards the running of the season. He lost his place in the team to Bernardo Silva, and he was getting kept out of the team by Sterling and Bernardo in the running of 18-19. And he was having fallouts with Guardiola quite often. Now, obviously, when we look back, we get these kind of rose-tinted views of players, or blue-tinted specs, I guess even would be a more apt kind of analogy. But I think it's pretty obvious that Guardiola and Sane didn't always see eye to eye on the pitch. Like, Guardiola was often like apocalyptic with rage on the sidelines, ranting consistently at Leroy, more so than any other players, because Leroy wasn't perceived to be carrying out his instructions, which I guess led to relationships breaking down a tiny bit, and Leroy just wanting to go home, I guess. But it is worth noting that there was often times when Sane was frustrating on the pitch. There's also worth noting, I guess, that Leroy Sane is absolutely brilliant. A fantastic player, world class on his day, lightning quick pace, though we still don't know if he has that pace after the injury. It is worth noting that he could be not quite as sharp as he was. He's probably fine, but it's worth noting that anyway. But he had lightning pace, incredible close control, a great eye for goal, a good cross. He's basically a top class winger with potential that many people would believe to be one of the best, if not the best in world football. Now, the only thing is, will he actually achieve those goals? If he had like the drive of Ronaldo or something like that, I've no doubt he'd end up being a 30-40 goal striker as well, forward at least. But I don't think he's going to be that kind of player. I think largely he'll be comfortable at Bayern, and I think he'll enjoy it. He doesn't strike me as a flashy person in particular. It does strike me someone with a lot of self-belief and maybe a little bit of a brisk attitude in general, but he doesn't seem particularly arrogant or kind of flashy, but I can imagine he'll enjoy the attention that he'll get over at Bayern Munich, being basically the man to, I guess long term, he's replacing the likes of Robin and Ribery. I know they kind of moved on to an extent, but he has been essentially, well, they moved on full stop, I guess. But he's basically the one that they've lined up to step into those shoes alongside like Gnabry and all that kind of stuff. And it is a good signing for Bayern. Obviously, it's a good signing. He's a German wonder kid. He's only young. I think he's 24 still. He's got a long time ahead of him. But I would not be surprised if he just kind of spends the rest of his career now at Bayern doing pretty well. Will he reach those levels? Question marks over that, if I'm being honest. But either way, even if he stays at the current level, he's a fantastic player for Bayern. I'm sure he'll rip it up over there. It is a massive blow, and it's a good deal for Bayern largely because they've got a quality player for a very cheap price. But I can't pretend to be anything other than happy that it's over. Genuinely. Sane, it wasn't perfect with Sane around. We have won very important games without him before. We did hold through that running of 18-19 season without Leroy Sane. But the one thing we're going to lose is that brilliance, that magic, that pace out wide. And I think largely City have missed that pace. If you look at our lineups this season, it's not quite as explosive. I do miss having a left-footed winger on the left and so the options that he brings us. Now, I guess the question mark now is, what does it mean for the rest of Manchester City's season? Personally, I kind of don't want him to be involved again now anyway. I just don't. I think we want to move on for it. I expect that he won't be involved anyway. I'm going to presume that if Bayern are signing a player for that amount of money, I know it's not as big as it could have been, but it's still a substantial amount of money for a business to transact. I'm going to presume that they won't want him playing for Manchester City anymore. They basically will have some stipulation where he won't be involved. According to Sam Lee as well, he's actually flown over to... he's about to fly over to basically Germany, and he probably won't come back to Manchester City again. That sounds about right, even though he can't play until next season for them. Personally, I'm fine with this. I'd rather just move on, give that bench spot to some young players, let us kind of plan for life without Leroy Sane. I know he'd be useful in the Champions League and all that kind of stuff potentially if we needed him, but he's not part of our team anymore, and I would much rather just kind of get on with it. It could be good news. On academy perspective, it could be good news on that front. Now, obviously, we've all noticed recently that Leroy Braff. Jaden Braff has been recalled back to first team training. He was back in training this week. And it could be that this young mercurial, lightning-quick winger gets his chance now as part of the squad. Aguero's out for a while. Sane's not on the bench. We've got two players not on the bench here. Inevitably, someone like Stones will be injured. Cancelo's in and out of the squad. So there will be a spot on the bench for him potentially. It could be a chance for... Jaden Braff to put a few games and show that life after Leroy Sane could already be sold by this young, exceptionally talented winger that we got on our academy already. It could be that chance. Football has a funny kind of quirk of fate sometimes. Now, I'm not saying that will definitely happen, but why not? Why not? Let's make the most of it. We've got a bunch of dead rubber games after the league now, and let's use these young players to see if we can solve those problems. Could also be a chance for someone like Cole Palmer, a very gifted, very skillful attacking midfielder who can play out wide. He can play for the middle as well as an attacking midfielder, or even kind of like a false nine. But largely, he's played a lot for the under-18s, often drifting out wide. And maybe we could see more game time for him, or more game time, or maybe any game time for him. And it could also mean more game time for Phil Foden as well, as he can play on the left a little bit. Either way, we've got to look at the positives from this, because I don't really see the point in dwelling on this much longer than we have to. It is a shame that it's gone, but I guess for a lot of people, myself included, it's hard to be too upset. Leroy Sane is quality, but he's never really kind of like gelled that well, I would say. I think there's always been some, like if you go back a year or so, a couple of years ago, if people would have asked which player do you think is most likely to leave, people probably would have said Leroy Sane, weirdly, because he always had that one day he might play for Real Madrid or something like that vibe to him. Obviously, he ended up being Bayern, which I didn't expect, but he did have that vibe. So it's not really worth beating ourselves up over. Sorry, I can't keep killing my throat in this video for some reason. And maybe I'm just sad about Leroy Sane. But basically, we have to accept that he's gone. It did feel like it was inevitable. I have kind of made my peace with it a long time ago. And there's no point getting down over something that we've got absolutely no control over. I will miss Leroy Sane. Of course I will miss Leroy Sane. He's a special, exciting, fantastic player. And it is weird that we've lost someone that we wanted to keep for the first time in a long, long time. You think of the likes of David Silva, Aguero, Vincent Kompany, Zabba, all these players. They stayed when we wanted them to stay. Even Yaya stayed when we wanted him to stay. All these world-class players that we watched over the years, they just didn't leave us, you know. And now we've lost one. We've lost a world-class player. And it is a bit shit. It is a bit shit maybe to see that aura of invincibility in the transfer market being kind of cut away a little bit, but it is a chance to realise this happens to everyone. All the big teams lose players every now and then. Everyone's lost a player here and there who wants to leave, and that's just how it's going to be. But we have to accept it and move on. I am quite interested to see what Guardiola does now. I do wish Leroy Sane the best. I know a lot of people will say fuck him and all that kind of stuff. I think largely we have to respect that a young German lad may just want to go home sometimes, you know. He is a family boy. He's got an athletic family as well. I think his parents, one of them was a runner or something like that. I'm sure he's got family over there. He's going to move back home. He's going to play for a team that basically every young German lad essentially obsesses over. Like, young German lads want to play for Bayern Munich. It's just this team that's held up to this higher standard than other clubs in Germany, and he's going home, I guess, and you can't really begrudge him that. If it was about money, I'm sure he'd be going somewhere else, but it doesn't seem to be about that at all, even though he was on a low wage at sea, but that was his own fault because he didn't sign a contract. You can't really blame him for wanting to go home. It would have been nice, if he'd signed a contract to seek a bit more money, but, he didn't have to do that at the same time. Largely, I do think Sane has sometimes been a bit poorly advised by his agents and all that kind of stuff. But it's over now. We have to accept it. 49 million euros up front with 11 million and add-ons. It's going to be weird seeing Manchester City without Sane, but we're all used to that now, and all we can do is be graceful. I'll do a proper video when it's confirmed, of course, but I wanted to put some thoughts out there. Fingers crossed this will be a chance now for Jaden Braff or Cole Palmer. That could be the positive for me. Anyway, guys, do let us know in the comments. I'm sure you're absolutely gutted. Of course you are. Why wouldn't you be? Let us know what you think. Should we replace him? Is the squad strong enough as it is? All that kind of stuff. Let us know how you're feeling. Subscribe if you're new to the channel as well. I guess I'll see you tomorrow for another video in a bit.